U.S. was taken over by Aussie Leighton Hewitt, who took over the year-end #1 ranking in 2001. In 2 years, Hewitt won the US Open over Sampras in the final, Wimbledon the following year, and by winning the year-ending Masters Cup twice, he became the youngest ever to end the year at #1. New look Leighton Hewitt in action this week in Cincinnati. He's the #3 seed. Hewitt takes on Mario Ancic of Croatia. Live next, ESPN2. And Kings Island is just across the street. Downtown Cincinnati, minutes down I-71, and if sports is your passion, this is the spot to be. It's summertime, it's tennis time, it's the Western and Southern Financial Group Masters, it's a US Open Series event. Leighton Hewitt taking on Mario Ancic in the first match, and then it will be Andy Roddick taking on Juan Ignacio Chela. Just a quick reminder, Roger Federer in action tonight at 7:30. Live coverage as he takes on Oliver Rochus, and Patrick McEnroe will be watching that one carefully because Rochus is from Belgium. USA plays Belgium after the US Open. Patrick, started out with a great field. We've got 5 seeded players left here in 16. But we've still got some serious names who are unseeded in the championship. Let's take a look at the draw.
Well, we got some big guns left, as you said, obviously, and Safin, one of them, and he had an easy win today. It's surprising how well he played in this one because Herbody's given him a lot of trouble in his career. Robbie Gineppri's had an excellent week again. The American getting his game back on track. He'll take on Carlos Moya. The Federer section doesn't look like he'll really be threatened until the semifinals. Then we go to the bottom half. You got Davydenko Gonzalez, a good matchup there. Ancic Hewitt, the match we're about to see, Roddick, and then the young Frenchman down there at the bottom, Gael Monfils. But you know, we've seen some of the top guys struggle here. You know, we're talking about Safin, you're talking about Federer, and the guy we're about to see, Leighton Hewitt. They haven't played a lot of tennis, in fact, any tennis since Wimbledon, and so Leighton Hewitt has struggled a bit the first couple of
Well, let's talk about Hewitt in a little more depth because here's the guys we said in the tease, Patrick, that ends up the year twice, #1 in the world, and the second year he was #1 for every week of the year as well. So the question is, what happened? Is it just a matter that Roger Federer showed up and Andy Roddick showed up, or was there some decline in his game?
Well, there's a little decline in his game in 2003, actually, when you know, he had some run-ins with the ATP, and I think that affected him and his schedule. He didn't play as much, and that was too bad for him. But he got his game back last year. Yes, the big reason was Roger Federer, but here Leighton Hewitt comes in. Look, he played in Montreal, but he was sick there, so he pulled down in his opening round match, and then first round he took on Andreev, and then yesterday he really struggled against Greg Ruzetsky. Now, of course, Ruzetsky's had an excellent summer, the big serving Brit, and the first set was all Ruzetsky serving and volleying, and the beautiful drop volley there. Ruzetsky cruises 6-1 in the first after getting to the semifinals last week before he lost to Agassi. But Hewitt, as he does, you know, he's able to get his teeth into the match even when he's not playing his best. Scratchy second set, Hewitt able to win it 7-5. That's his new wife back on hand here in Cincinnati. Then the third, it was much better play from Hewitt as he wins it 6-4 in the third. But the incredible thing about his record this year, Cliff, we were just talking about it before we came on, this is only his 8th tournament. So even though he started the year so well in Australia, getting to the final, also got to the final of Indian Wells out in the desert, hasn't played a lot, had the toe problem that kept him out of the clay court season. So he's just starting to find, you know, get his teeth into this event, and I think he's going to play well today against Mario Ancic.
So you used 2 words, struggling, which is true, and then scratchy, also true, but the thing is, he plays that way. This man Ancic has got a huge game also, Patrick. You saw it up close and personal, big serve from Mario.
Well, he's had a great year. I mean, this has been his most consistent year. He won his first title on grass. He's also reached a final in Scottsdale. You see his record is by far his best at 35-18. So, you know, to me, he was a bit disappointing at Wimbledon. I really thought he had a chance to get as far as the semis there. He went out early, but he's a tough player. He serves well. He's a very hard worker. He's had 2 good wins here over Mello, and then a little bit of an upset over the talented Frenchman Gasquet. So it's a good contrast because you've got Mario Ancic obviously going to look to serve and volley as much as he can, but Hewitt, one of the best returners in his business, one of the best counterpunchers, so I think I like Hewitt.
All right, Leighton Hewitt as a player, Patrick, when you analyze him and you're talking to your chickens about him, for example, what kind of a guy is it that beats Leighton Hewitt? Is it the big serve and volley game, or is it somebody who is more consistent? Because he's a fighter, he's a bulldog, this kid.
He is, but you can beat him a number of ways, but you can also lose to him a lot of ways. Sometimes he doesn't like pace. Sometimes you can give him this sort of just no pace at all down the middle, and he can miss. But look, that's not Ancic's game. So Ancic has got to try to play aggressively when he gets the chance, but he's got to be smart, because Hewitt will, I think, capitalize on Ancic's second serve and get that ball down low. So it's an interesting contrast in this one.
All right, we'll have this one when we come back. We've got Andy Roddick to follow this one, and then tonight again, we've got the world's #1, Roger Federer. Very good day's tennis coming up.
His own name was written on the tombstone.
At Western and Southern Financial Group, we've heard our share of scary stories.
One time, there was a woman with no life insurance, no annuities, no mutual fund.
Fortunately, we can help you plan for a stable future.
And that's the best he got?
It gets scarier as you get older.
Western and Southern Financial Group. Strength, vision, leadership.
Do you think that story is real?
American Express. How may I help you, Miss Abrams? For your father's birthday. Okay. Well, you can redeem points and get him a ride in a MiG. Afraid of heights. How about auto racing school? About 200 miles an hour? Motion sick. Okay, here it is. Something that goes 3 miles an hour. Safari it is.
The American Express card. A world of service.
So I go into the store with my aching shoulder, and I'm reading the thermocare box. It's heat wraps, powerful pain relief. Yeah, sure. Then I try one out. It heats up. The heat sinks in. Man, that box wasn't kidding. The pain is melting away. It's like having a heating pad without a cord. I can go wherever, I can do whatever. This is working. I can do this. I can even do this. I still can't do this.
ESPN2's presentation of the Western and Southern Financial Group Masters. Brought to you by Western and Southern Financial Group, a Fortune 500 company helping people plan their financial future. And the American Express card, a world of service.
I got a nice day coming your way. We're at the Western and Southern Financial Group Masters, round of 16 now. Ancic, Leighton Hewitt, and then as we said, a very good menu for the rest of the day. We're hoping that this 40% does not materialize, obviously. Otherwise, it's a really pleasant day for tennis. Brad Gilbert down at courtside now with some more on this one coming up.
Thanks, Cliffy. Yeah, the conditions are really thick down here. I spoke to Coach Roger Rashid before the match, and he told me that Leighton is finally starting to feel better. He had this viral infection. He's lost about 7-8 pounds, but he's finally starting to feel a little better. I said, what up with your hat, the RR? He goes, well, Leighton got that for me. He goes, I have no deal right now. So as a joke, he made this hat for me, the worst hat. And so since I have to wear the RR, he goes, and in turn, I made him wear the Pat Cash headband. But since it hasn't gone that well the last couple of matches, wearing the Pat Cash headband, he dishes it. I talked to Mario Ancic, coach, and he said that he's going to be very selective with his serve volley, especially on the second serve. He doesn't want to give Hewitt too much of a target.
Pretty good analysis there, and very glad to know what the Pat Cash headband was all
right
about.
We were dumbfounded by that. Well, Hewitt took it off in the middle of the match yesterday against Ruzetsky,
and it worked.
Yeah, it worked. Turned it around.
Yeah, he said that since it wasn't going so well, he's not going to make him do it. But it's a joke between the two of them this week to not take themselves too seriously.
Nice. That's nice. Leighton Hewitt was the 2004 and 2002 finalist. And this is the second match on center court. We should just share with you that Marat Safin, as we've already shown you with the draw, took out Dominic Harbati, didn't have much trouble. He looks like he's sort of playing himself into form, people.
He is. That's a scary thought for the rest of the field. Is coming back after the long layoff because of knee problems.
24-year-old from Adelaide, where he has enjoyed tremendous success in that tournament in Adelaide, which is before the Australian. 28-7 for the year, as you said. Not much tennis this year, relatively, for the Australian.
And his one title, Cliff, came early in the year in Sydney, the week before the Australian. You mentioned the runner-up appearance last year for Hewitt. And he lost to Andre Agassi.
But look, in the big ones, at the Australian, he gets to the final.
Yep.
And at Wimbledon, in the semi-final, he runs into the Club Fed.
Yeah, he'll be a factor at the Open. His game, Hewitt's game, is built for going the distance and playing in long 5-set matches. He's lost to the eventual champ in his last 6 slams. Goes back to Gaudio at last year's French Open in the quarterfinals. He did not play in the French Open this year, Leighton Hewitt, because of that injury to his foot.
Leighton Hewitt winning the first game. And Roddick coming up next year in Mason, Ohio, outside of Cincinnati. Beach event that hosts people from all over, from Chicago all the way down to Louisville, Kentucky. Andy Roddick and Juan Ignacio Chela in action live following this match.
So the best match of the tournament was last night. I thought Roddick and Juan Carlos Ferrero. What a slugfest that was. Roddick winning it in 3 sets.
Now, the quality of the first couple of days is a little dodgy sometimes, but not last night. Born in Split, Croatia. Monte Carlo's home. For now, this 21-year-old, Baby Goran, they call him.
Hewitt looks much sharper in the opening couple of games here than he has so far this week. Ancic 35-18. He's at 17th in the race.
When his title in Herzenbach, which was a grass court tournament leading up to Wimbledon, he beat Gael Monfils, the young Frenchman at Wimbledon. Lost to Feliciano Lopez in a straight set. That was a surprise. Lopez had a very good Wimbledon.
Missed it.
15.
Break points.
Big scramble there by Hewitt, but Ancic should have been able to handle that.
Monfils, by the way, the Frenchman, takes on Yuzny now. Yuzny beat Berdych, who had taken out Rafael Nadal.
Nadal went back to Spain to rest up, spend some time in Mallorca. And he said he'll show up in New York about 4 days before the Open. Interesting move to go all the way back.
Yeah, you sound surprised.
A little bit. He said he wanted to spend some time with his family, and he said he's played so many tournaments this year.
Which he has.
He's been in 10 finals, won 9 of them.
You're his coach. You would have told him to stick around, Patrick?
Not if he said, I really want to go home. You know, sometimes, you know, the player needs to just be in the right frame of mind. Somehow I don't think his preparation will be that effective. No, after I mean, he's got so much confidence after winning in Montreal. Sometimes if you go to a tournament, you know, if he went straight to New York, he's there for almost 2 weeks. That could be too long. Get a little bit fried.
Hewitt with a chance to break here. Already had a couple. It's his 3rd break point in this first serve game of Ancic.
But the heavy conditions, I mean, not helping Ancic today. Tough for him to win those cheap points with the serve. Hewitt a little extra time to get the return back.
Break a serve to Hewitt, and he's got 2 games to love. Patrick, you know, this for folks in the good old USA listening to us may come as a surprise to them. But remember when Agassi, for example, when he was younger, he didn't like to spend more than a couple of weeks in Europe because it was too far away from home.
He would go back and forth in between events as well. Yeah.
And when you talk about all those titles, they were for the most part played on clay in Europe. And, you know, for guys from Europe, it's tough to spend that far away from home all that time. Brad, what do you think about him going back all the way to home from Spain?
It's a great move because familiarity is a great thing, and he seems like the type that if he was there for a couple of weeks, he would go bananas. Something also tells me getting back with Uncle Tony, getting back to his routine, comes in 4 days before the tournament. Great move. If he loses first round, we'll say it was a bad move.
2 games to love, 30 love now, Hewitt. They'll take a break at 3 games to love for Leighton Hewitt. He's number 3 seed here in Mason. Pitch serving.
Ancic is, to say the least, not off to a good start. His game not matching up well with Hewitt. You know, Hewitt, guys that can hit the ball with a lot of spin can give Hewitt trouble from the ground. But Ancic hits the ball relatively flat, so that's not bothering Hewitt at all from the baseline. Hewitt's looking sharp. 4 winners, just 1 error so far. Another unforced error.
Having trouble getting on the board here. 3 games to love, and now love 30. Ancic started when he was very young, 7 years old. Played a lot with Goran Ivanisevic from the same town. There are a lot of similarities. If you hear both of them speak, they got the same like deep tone of voice, and in some ways also the same sense of humor, which is really great. Beat Federer on center court at Wimbledon in 2002. That's the last match that Federer has lost at Wimbledon.
Just doesn't know what to do with either Ancic, or he doesn't want to serve volley too much. As you know, we heard from Brad about the coach. He wanted to mix it up, but the problem is that he's not hurting Hewitt from the backcourt at all.
Break points.
Wow. Terrible start.
Western and Southern Financial Group tournament summary. There are only 5 seeds left. We told you that. Federer, Hewitt, Safin, Davydenko, and Roddick. Wild cards. Gael Monfils, the young Frenchman, is looking to get into the quarterfinal, first time in a Masters event, and Federer got his 60th win. And he is in Cincinnati, round of 16 for the first time. You'll see him tonight. Live coverage 7:30.
And Monfils up an early break over in the grandstand against Mikhail Yuzny.
Federer taking out Oliver Rochus of Belgium.
And Monfils is fun to watch. He's a very athletic player, big serve, moves very well.
Tall,
He's
gangly.
Yeah, he serves just like Roddick. He sort of patterned his serve after Roddick, same sort of motion. A lot of pop on that first. This is not pretty so far. There's that Cartwright on the right there. Hewitt's new bride. Pregnant, waiting for their first child.
Livens the crowd up a little bit as Ancic makes a move. Wins a point, 15 all.
That's making a move so far for him, Cliff, winning a point. It's only the 4th point he's won in the match. 18-4. It's like a club match.
So, Brad, what do you tell a guy who's like totally losing it, hasn't won a game yet? What do you tell him at this stage?
Well, right now he's kind of between a rock and a hard place. I think he's outthinking himself. You know, he's hesitant whether or not he's going to come forward or stay back. He needs to do one or the other, not kind of mix it up right now. If I was him, I'd start coming in on everything. See those long points? It just gives Hewitt too much rhythm. He's not going to beat him from the ground. I think he had 2 or 3 chances to get in. And if a guy passes you, you say too good. But he's certainly going to get baked just staying 8 feet behind the baseline.
And players that give Hewitt trouble with that little off-speed slice are guys that can then hurt him with a big forehand. Ancic doesn't really have that from the ground.
First time they've played against each other, these two. Break point for Ancic. Got it.
Yeah, Ancic didn't like it. It looked wide from up here.
The chair ump is right on that line.
Space between that mark and the line.
Carlos Bernardus in the chair.
Should have a really good view of it.
It's the same mark. I agree with you. It's the same mark, but I can see space from here. From your
Shot
position,
spot says it was wide.
okay, but from here.
Yeah, Carlos just told me, he goes, I agree with you with that mark, but he goes, I can't see space between the mark and the line.
Now, if shot spot was right, Patrick, and that distance, is that too close for the chair ump to overrule?
Pretty tough from that angle. Yes, it's tough to see.
Deuce.
I think that's a pretty tough line to call, actually, because you're right on top of it. But you know, the angle and the way it depends on where the ball's coming from. If you can see that line clearly.
Hey guys, I'm sitting right behind the umpire, and he couldn't have a worse view of that. Even though he's close to it, his angle is bad. I actually have a better view for the other side of the court. So I think they just tend to go with the linesman on that call, even though.
That's the umpire's view right there.
That's real tough to overrule that.
Gee, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a very good point you're making, you two. Not a good angle, and then you can see it on that shot spot replay. Hewitt's in front, 5-zip. No trouble yet. Hewitt is leading by 5 games to love. Couple of breaks. And she's trying to get on the board. Has not had, obviously, a good start. Mind flipping the channel so we can see how Mr. Monfils is doing.
He's still up a break, 4-3.
And serving.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's why Ancic is concerned about serving and volleying every point, because Hewitt's so good when he has a target, someone coming in, getting that return down low.
It is our plan as of now to show you a little bit of Mr. Gael Monfils in his match after this set. And if you've never had that pleasure, then I strongly suggest that you don't make that move to the grocery store right now. Just give us a few minutes, because he's fun. 15-30. Hewitt 2 points away from a skunk.
Hey Cliff, you know what's interesting about the young Frenchman is he plays very similar style to Roddick.
Yeah, Patrick was saying the same thing. So if you like the Roddick style, then listen, take my word for it, stick around, because he's interesting, this young Frenchman. Even if you don't like Roddick style, stick around. Game point for Ancic.
It's on the board.
This is a Masters event, folks. That means that all the top players in the world automatically entered, and I've said it before. So for those of you who are regular viewers, again, I know you've heard it before, but for those who are not, it's a really significant fact about these events that all top players are automatically entered. If they're injured, they don't show. That's why the fields here are so strong. We're in the round of 16. Now we've got Leighton Hewitt in action. He's got 15 love and 5-1. Coming up next, we've got Andy Roddick, and tonight you've got Roger Federer.
When Hewitt serves well, he's very tough to deal with, because you know, obviously, you know, he's going to be in a lot of return games. And if he can win those cheap points with his. I remember that year that Hewitt won Wimbledon, Cliff. He had outstanding serving numbers throughout the tournament. Oh, he's clicking now. Spoke to Roger, his coach, a little bit before the match and asked him what their plan was for next week, if maybe he would need another tournament. He said nope. He said they were going to do the training, the hard yards, they call them, you know, to get Hewitt primed for the U.S. Open. So they're going to stick with their program. But right now, Hewitt looks very sharp. That's his 5th ace.
Set point for Hewitt.
Roger?
You don't do too much hard work the week before a major, do you?
Maybe if you're Hewitt, you do, but no, normally you don't. You know, Hewitt got married. He played Davis Cup in Australia after Wimbledon. Oh, hello. So I don't think he quite got as much practice in as he wanted, but more to the point was he got sick last week. And that really put him back a bit. Got a virus basically the day he arrived from Australia in Montreal.
Or he might have got it on the plane from Australia before he got to Montreal.
Well, I mean, or he might have gotten it as he was at the airport in Australia before he went on the plane.
Just turn things around a little bit here against Leighton Hewitt. We nevertheless on serve. No breaks here in the second. And Brad, fill us in. What's been happening here second set?
Ancic saved a break point 1-all, but he's starting to mix up his game a lot better. He's playing much more from the baseline. And as Patrick said, he's starting to mix in a few slices and then crack the ball, but he's definitely stayed back almost the whole set, and he's working his way back in the match.
Oh, yes. Brilliant return there. Ancic just on top of that. One thing he has, Ancic, is reach. He couldn't reach that one.
Good point.
Hewitt continuing to serve very well. It's his 8th ace. Hewitt's won 17 out of 19 points when he's gotten the first serve in.
And another one. So
Patrick.
Even 3 apiece here in the second. Let's just quickly remind you, Brad, and then fire away, that following this match we'll have Andy Roddick and Juan Ignacio Chela, and again 7:30 tonight you will get to see the world's top player. He's continuing his quest here. He takes on, that's Roger Federer taking on Oliver Rojas. Go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
Hewitt's serve kind of reminds me of the same kind of effectiveness as we saw last night from Ferrero. You know, they don't have the biggest serves, but they really place it well.
And that gives him a lot of confidence too, Brad. I think, yeah, I mean, Ferrero gets a little more kick on the serve. Hewitt looks to slice a little bit more, which I think makes his serve a little riskier on the second. You mentioned earlier in the week, Brad, how Hewitt had some trouble with double faulting. But someone that plays that kind of baseline game, if they can win some cheap points on the serve, boy, it just elevates their confidence. We saw that last night with Ferrero against Roddick.
Patrick, you know what I was thinking? You know, we started off the year with the Big Four, and the Big Four was in the semifinals of the Australian Open. That was Federer, Roddick, Hewitt, and Safin.
Right.
And potentially, this is the first time that they could be all back in the same semifinals, and it's taken 7 months for that to happen.
Well, we've got a big five now, at least with the addition of the Spaniard. Live coverage, Western and Southern Financial Group Masters. Love 30 in this game, 3 apiece. Watching Leighton Hewitt here and Mario Ancic. Leighton Hewitt is got 3 break points in the second set. He easily won the first.
There's Frederick Rosengren, who just joined up with Mario Ancic last week in Canada. He was coaching Joachim Johansson, big serving Swede, who unfortunately had to have shoulder surgery, and he's out the rest of the year at least. Oh, that's well done by Hewitt as he gets the love break. So the Australian now up a set, and now with a break 4-3 as he looks to move into the quarterfinals.
He's about to serve here. He won the first set 6-1, very much in control here. Meanwhile, Jusny is in front in the second set. Against Gaël Monfils, he went down to the young Frenchman. 3-1 Jusny, and he's serving.
15.
No break points against Leighton Hewitt in this match. British press were calling him, after he beat Federer, they were calling him Super Mario.
He made the semis last year at Wimbledon, lost to Roddick.
Yeah, he beat Brave Tim.
And some of us so-called experts thought he might go that far this year, and then he really played a miserable match against Lopez. He just his serve broke down there. A lot of double faults. The routine service game for Leighton. Parents on hand. And in Charlene. He's got the full support team there with his coach, his wife, his sister.
Glenn, a big Aussie rules football player, and Leighton was hugely into that as well. In fact, in that down year, he was talking about playing Aussie rules instead of tennis. That didn't last too long. And now this is Hewitt on the brink.
15.
Brad, I wanted to ask you something as we were watching Gaël Monfils. Patrick said that he plays the points really well, that he's a mature point player. And I have a question about that, because he's just a kid. Because so many youngsters don't play points and sets because they hit a lot of balls. What's the balance, and how do you become good point player at a young age.
Well, I'm old school. I like to tee them up and play sets, and I don't think enough kids do play sets.
That's why.
They want to hit, and sports psychologists will tell them it's not good to be competitive. Well, last I checked, these matches are all sets. I always think it's a great idea to play sets. And Monfils won 3 junior Grand Slams last year, and he actually would have had a chance to win the junior Grand Slam, but didn't play the Open. So he's won a lot of big junior matches, so he learned to play points while playing matches.
Agree with that, Patrick, about the sets?
Definitely. Absolutely.
I do too. 40 love. So Ancic wins a relatively easy one. That's the good news from the bad news is he hasn't broken. In fact, he hasn't come close to breaking, and he'll have to. Hewitt for the match.
Lotto ATP Raptor, passion to perform.
If a leader arrived on the scene, would you recognize him?
Can I play?
You're on their team.
At Western and Southern Financial Group, we've been helping people plan for a stable financial future for more than 115 years. Just something to remember the next time you're picking teams. Western and Southern Financial Group. Strength, vision, leadership.
I'm not chasing that.
That ought to do it. Oh, you're going international, huh?
That's the plan.
All right. See you tomorrow.
Hey, Frank, little help!
Here you go, guys.
Hey, ragazzi!
Hey, Franco! Mi aiuti?
Ci vediamo. Ciao, Franco.
Ciao.
Ecco i pacchi dell'America.
Sì, lavoriamo con l'estero, eh?
Ti ringrazio.
Complimenti.
Global shipping with a very familiar face. UPS, what can Brown do for you?
Lotto ATP Raptor, passion to perform.
Fans fanning themselves here on a day that actually they've been saying that the weather was really toasty over the last couple of weeks, and that it's a good thing that this event was not played then. It's much more pleasant weather now. This is Leighton Hewitt serving for the match against Mario Ancic. Hewitt wins this, he will take on the winner of Davydenko and Fernando Gonzalez, who beat Nalbandian.
Ooh, got it. Ace number 9 for Hewitt. Shot spot. That's about as good as you can place it. Putting it on a dime, right in the corner.
You were talking earlier, Patrick, about his effectiveness as a server, and it's been part of the, well, a huge part of the story here today, as Leighton Hewitt has just served again well, and Ancic has had no answer to trying to break. This is match point. fist pump there from Hewitt, relatively little one, and he wins this one very easily and short. That was just over an hour, 1 minute over an hour.
Well,
it's over.
It's just what Hewitt wanted. I mean, he struggled his first couple of matches, but he was hitting the ball cleanly from the start there, and Ancic did not help his cause at all by just getting off to a horrendous start. So Hewitt's into the quarters. He continues to be Mr. Consistent this year. Davydenko, Gonzalez, Roddick, Shayla, that's coming up next, and then Monfils and Uzny. Looks like it's, yes it is, headed to a third set.
We will take a break now from our live coverage. A lot more. Maybe Roddick coming up next. Roger Federer tonight. But we'll talk to the winner after this.